What's up, PWBA fans? It is week 2 on the PWBA Tour. We're here at Double Decker Lanes. It's the PWBA On the Road show. Let's get it. Welcome back to week 2 PWBA On the Road. I'm Emil Williams Jr. Big thanks to Jason McEwen behind the camera. We are at Double Decker Lanes, home of the PWBA Sonoma County Open, the 2018 version. Rocio, Restrepo, of course, your defending champion. On this week's show, we're going to take a look back at last week's Las Vegas Open. It was a fantastic event. Shayna from Singapore got her first title. We'll also talk a little bit about lane conditions. We talked about the scorecard a little bit last week, but we'll go in depth with some experts. And of course, you'll hear from some players on what they think about the PWBA lane conditions for 2018. Get a good look at the locker room because many of these bowling balls will be going down the lane pretty soon. We're just moments away from practice, and of course, competition will begin on Friday. But right now, Jason Thomas did a heck of a job recapping last week's Las Vegas Open, and let's take a look at it right now.
Ah, spring! The flowers are blooming, the birds are chirping, and 112 of the world's best women bowlers flocked to the shiny new bowling plaza of South Point in sparkly Las Vegas, Nevada for the first PWBA Tour event of the 2018 season. And unlike last season, they weren't met with a flat brick wall of an oil pattern to jolt them out of their spring bliss. Instead, PWBA lane maintenance lead Nick Hoagland rolled out a kinder, gentler challenge to kick off the new year, and many of the ladies took full advantage. Singapore's Shayna got off to the fastest start, taking the round 1 lead with a 235.88 average, and a number of familiar faces giving chase. In round 2, Megan Kelly of Dayton, Ohio, rolled the first 300 game of the season. But it was Latvia's Diana Zavjalova who really kicked things into high gear, jumping all the way into second place heading into the final day of the tournament.
Most of the girls were playing out and I was just slow wheeling the ball, and my balls they just looked amazing. Like my ball came back if I missed right, it held if I missed left.
In the round of 32, Diana Z went on a tear, rolling the event's second 300 game and overtaking and reigning PWBA Player of the Year Liz Johnson for the lead. In the round of 12, Zavjalova stretched out her advantage to claim the number 1 seed for the stepladder finals, with and Johnson locking down the numbers 2 and 3 seeds. The battle for the final spot featured several players, but 26-time PWBA champion Leanne Hulsenberg would rekindle past glory with a triumphant 279 to make her first stepladder finals since the relaunch of the tour in 2015.
There it is! Leanne Hulsenberg locks up the number 4 seed.
In the finals, the two legends faced off, and Johnson would have an opportunity to advance if she could perform in the 10th frame.
Oh,
wow.
7-pin.
And Leanne Hulsenberg.
She's going to sneak away with this one.
Hulsenberg's dreams of another title came to an end in the semifinal when closed her out in the 10th frame of a hard-fought battle.
9 is certainly enough.
9 for the win.
And Shayna will be moving on.
In the match for the title, looked to be in the driver's seat after a fast start put her way out in front.
Going to the road to Richmond.
Ooh.
Late kick on the 10, and that's huge. Wow.
But Diana Z would roar back.
Bang. Good shot.
Really good shot.
After a late open by Zavjalova had the inside track to close out the match with strikes in the 9th and 10th
left.
frames. With the late open, would have a chance for a victory lap and ultimately took home her first PWBA Tour victory, which meant the world to her.
It means a lot to me. I mean, I've been on tour for a couple of years now and I've made a couple of shows, but I've never won anything yet. So this means a lot to me, having my first title of my own and having my own little flag, you know.
This week, the tour heads to Double Decker Lanes in Rohnert Park, California, where Rocio Restrepo emerged as the champion last season and produced one of the best moments of the year with her inspiring victory speech.
You can't win if you quit, so don't ever give up your dreams and always work hard and remember to treat others like you want to be treated and be awesome every day.
Tune in to Extra Frame and PWBA.com starting Friday at noon Eastern to follow all of the exciting action in California in this week's installment of The Road to Richmond.
Thanks, Jason. Now we're going to get into a little lane talk where we went behind the scenes and on the lanes with some players and ball reps to talk about how they are going to attack this week's condition here at double-decker lanes.
I actually like the fact that we don't know the pattern. I like that curiosity kind of thing, and like nobody knows anything prior. I really like that. I do have different kinds of bowling balls that I bring with me, including like urethanes, weaker balls, stronger balls, symmetric, asymmetric. So obviously during a practice session, like I have that variety. So I just try everything, and also I make sure I try every part of the lane, no matter what pattern it is, short, long, medium. I just try to find the best reaction for myself. So normally I come in the practice session prepared, knowing that I have many different bowling balls, and I'm just going to try every single part of the lane and see what works for me.
So for me, the first thing that I look out for on the lanes is the distance at where the ball reads. So that is most important to me. I don't want it reading too early and I don't want it reading too late. So that is like the key for me. And then after that, we will move along surface first, and then after that, I will go through my list of arsenal, the balls that is suited within that range that helps me read at that spot, and then I'll go through the balls over there and see which one gives me the best shape to the pocket.
I try to just keep it simple. I'm a field bowler, so I just try to make shots just get loose and not get so caught up in bowling balls and lane patterns, because at the end it's all who I'm bowling with, who I'm following, if I'm following a high rever player, if I'm following a straight player. So every lane and every pair, I just take it for what it is and just try to make the best of it.
So we have a short pattern this week. What I see right now is really going to depend on where you are in the house. It's a little cooler on the low end, so they're a little tighter down lane. It's hotter on the high end, so they're hooking a little earlier. Right now I actually have my feet gravitated a little left. I'm just kind of throwing it to the dry, trying to keep my hand behind it as long as possible and make sure it's able to shape in the back. But I think they're going to be pretty low scoring because they're pretty tricky so far, and it really depends where you are in the house. So it'll be important to look out who you're crossing, who you're behind, and where they're playing, and it should be pretty fun.
Right now the pattern is 36 feet, higher volume. There's a lot of friction out there, and right now I'm playing further to the gutter. I have a couple balls that I feel like I can play with, and hopefully I can throw a lot of strikes this week.
Well, they're definitely hooking. I think for me, I'm going to probably throw some urethane down the lane, trying to keep the ball a little straighter. For my game, I'm definitely having to loft it. If I don't loft it, it is hooking a lot. So the loft just allows me to kind of create that straighter angle that I like to play.
Well, so far there's a lot of friction. You're going to really have to control the break point a lot. And I don't think you can throw it too hard. I think you're going to have to continue to move left a little bit, but still keep your angles open, throwing it toward the gutter a little bit. But I think you're going to be able to stay aggressive, which is what I like to do, so I'm excited.
All right, welcome back to PWBA On the Road, Week 2 from Double Decker Lanes. The PWBA Sonoma County Open rolls on. Practice just ended. We got a chance to catch up with two very good individuals. To my right, Josh Blanchard from Team EBI, Ebonite International, and to my left, Nathan Bohr representing Motiv. And gentlemen, we want to get right into this week's lane pattern, 36 feet. We know that it was very difficult, arguably the most challenging condition last year, of course, in 2017. Already a little bit different than what we've seen in the practice session. Nathan, what did you see specifically on the lanes to so far help your players to the best of their ability?
Yeah, well, first of all, it is going to be probably a little bit high scoring than last year, but I'm not expecting it to be anything close to what it was last week, the scoring pace. This bowling center, the scores seem to be a little lower no matter what pattern is put out. But yeah, you said it, a lot of friction. sometimes in places you don't want to see friction. So it's going to be about controlling the front to back, using maybe balls that aren't going to, that you don't feel like are going to strike as much, but control the pocket. And the player that can control the pocket and still get the corners out is going to do really well this week.
And Josh, I'll ask you the same question. What did you see, and kind of how do you kind of break it down for each player, which I know is different, and how you talk to each player in regards to what they're seeing, which everyone sees it from a different angle. So what did you see?
Exactly. There's many different girls out here. They like to see lanes differently. They throw it different rev rates. So getting to have them see the picture the correct way is really our job. And this week is going to be difficult, like Nathan said. Scoring pace will definitely be higher than last year's quite difficult pattern. But I think the biggest thing, like Nathan said, is controlling the pocket. This bowling center play is very different from one side to the other. And the girl who can control the pocket the most from pair to pair is probably going to be the people who's in the top 12. But I can see a lot of high scores this week and a lot of really low ones right after that. You see a lot of 250s and the 150s to combat those higher scores. So getting the girls to see the shape front to back, like Nathan said, is going to be really pivotal this week.
Quick question on that. How many ways could there be? Or maybe what's the suggestion this week to make sure they see the pocket for what they need to see it? So to get there in the best possible way without giving it away, if that makes sense.
I think trusting their abilities is going to be the first one. To know that when they move pairs and they threw it really good and it split, it's the lanes, it's not them. To believe in themselves, and also watching the people ahead of them is going to be key, and that's part of our job is to help them, but really to be aware of what's going around them and where the balls are going down the lane around them is going to really help them.
And Nathan, when the pattern is posted, only 30 minutes prior to the practice session, before you even walk in the door, what do you think about, or what do you want to let the players know ahead of time, regardless of what the pattern is, to kind of give them any base, if you will, to start with? Right.
Well, what we've talked about so far, and I've talked to everybody that I've been able to talk to, is just how much friction there is on the lane here. Notwithstanding that the pattern is only 36 feet, but the friction in the front, the friction in the first panel, the second panel, third panel, it's a lot different than last week where the fronts were really glassy. It was really easy to get the ball through the front last week. You could have your hand do a couple different things and the ball would still get to where you wanted to see it at 35 feet or so. It's not the case this week. The person that just assumes that the ball is going to get to the spot no matter how they throw it, they're going to have some strange looks on their faces and get some strange reactions just because there's friction on the lane, a lot more friction, and it's not in the same place every lane. And then you compound that with, as Josh said, where the two ends of the house play different, and then who you follow, the person that can control their hand and control their speed, control their angle of attack through the front, the best is going to have the best chance of bowling well. Sure. And that's a big change from last week. So that's kind of the emphasis this week rather than striking, as it were.
And then Josh, I'll ask you a different question. You're new to the PWBA Tour. You're kind of new to the role as a ball rep here. Just give me your thoughts and then kind of your favorite part so far about being on tour, about helping the players, and obviously hopefully helping them succeed.
Getting to work with the best women in the world is a treat in its own. They're very talented. They can control their speed better than the men can do, I would say. But helping them see that maybe the mental side of the game a little different than they have, not beating themselves up so much, but trusting themselves has kind of been my role out here so far. But every week's been a learning experience. So this is week 2, and we're just starting the season.
Okay, and then from a general census, we talked about Nick Hoagland's scorecard last week with 6 different patterns for the 6 standard events, ranging in length. Could be different volumes, and all of those variables could change before they're even posted. And Josh, I'll start with you. When you have some information like that, 6 patterns, still don't know what to expect, but kind of what I asked Nathan earlier, how do you help or let the players know ahead of time, no matter what's out there, what are your keys in particular, to help them with the option of having 6 patterns out there?
I think putting the patterns aside, it's our job to understand the bowling center characteristics more than anything. So to get as much information as you can about the bowling center you're going to is our job. And then once the pattern's out there, we can't change it by any means. So that's out of our control. We can just take the characteristics into play, whether it be flat gutters, whether it be friction in the front panels like Nathan was talking about, and how the pins fall. And that's kind of where we go from. And then whatever is given to us, we're gonna tackle with whatever strategies, ball-wise, hand position, speed, as we can.
Well, we know Nick Hoagland can create some serious oil patterns. When your first thought is like, okay, well, if Nick's making a scorecard, what do I have to be prepared for, in a sense?
Anything and everything. And I think that's what the girls get prepared for when they come out here. You see them on social media; they're practicing every angle possible because you never know what Nick's going to throw at you. And last year he threw the ultimate doozy at you. But this year has been okay so far. So we'll see how weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 play out. But this week's going to be a little challenging, and I don't expect anything different from Nick.
And then same question, Nathan, we know what Nick is capable of.
Right.
And first of all, Nick's a great guy, by the way. But he does present some challenging conditions. So with a bank for the standard events, do you approach it any different?
I think if they were kind of classic Nick Hoagland designs, you would have to maybe broaden your horizons a little bit more. But looking at that scorecard, they look fairly standard. They all kind of look 2-to-1, 3-to-1, somewhere around that area. A little bit of a crown. Nothing too outstanding as far as what's this stripe of oil doing here, or why does this lane pattern make a letter, kind of thing. So.
We had one of those last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's an I this year.
Okay.
We can say an uppercase I guess, but getting to bowl on Nick's patterns really not getting to bowl myself very much, but seeing them on tour and seeing them at the collegiate level, a lot of the things, some of the things that he likes to see the bowlers do on the lane is play the lanes in a way that they get better throughout the day, and rewarding the player who can do that. Okay. Rather than some patterns you see, you can start at 20 on the fresh, swing it to 5, get it to 10, whatever, and you can score right off the bat. Most of the time, Nick has these patterns where if you're not in the right part of the lane, or you're not looking for your ball to do the right thing, you can't keep up early. Right. The pace may be lower early, but your pace, playing the lanes wrong, playing the lanes in how he deems incorrectly, is going to punish you. And so I kind of look for that spot that, okay, this is where we need to kind of start at. Basically, because if you play it incorrectly, you're punished greatly, and so looking for that in all of these patterns is kind of how I approach his patterns, and I'm trying to convey that to the players.
Perfect. Well, this was good stuff here, gents. Guys, I appreciate it. Josh, good luck.
Thanks for letting 2 Wichita State guys sit with you. I appreciate that.
Good thing Lindenwood is in the middle. Nathan, appreciate that. And for the rest of the time, folks, again, episode 2, week 2 here, double-decker lanes, PWBA Sonoma County Open. Extra frame, that's where you can watch us. Competition begins Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time. 2 8-game blocks. The second block will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Again, extra frame. Be sure to check pwba.com/live for all your qualifying results and everything you will need to watch the winner. Of course, live step ladder finals on extra frame. So be with us all week. For Josh Blanchard, Nathan Bohr, Craig Elliott, shout out to Craig, and Jason McEwen, I'm Emil Williams Jr. We will see you next week at Fountain Bowl in Fountain Valley, California.